January 27th, 2026 meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustments. Just a really quick statement that the minutes and audio visual recordings will be available at NashuaNewHampshire.gov. My name is Josh Neely. I am the vice chair. Unfortunately, the chair could not be with us tonight. Up here on the stage with me to my left is Carter Fox, city staff, who some of you probably have worked with to get your applications where they needed to be. To my right is member J.P. Boucher, member Stephen Lionel, and member associate, alternate, there we go. I was going to get the right A word eventually, Joseph Patry. Mr. Patry will be voting on all of the, at his discretion, will be voting on all of the cases tonight, as we only have 4 members. Normally, this is a 5-person board, but tonight, because there's only 4 of us, any votes that end in a 2-2 tie will be considered, the case will not go forward. That'll be considered declined. Any questions on that at all? Everybody's okay with a smaller board? Okay. All right. In just a few moments, I'm going to do an official roll call. But before we get to that, I want to talk about how this night is going to flow. We have applications for 2 different variances tonight. And if you remember from your application, there are 5 points of law that need to be met for a variance. In order for the variance to pass, all 5 points of law must be met. The first one is that a variance will not be contrary to the public interest. The spirit of the ordinance is observed. Substantial justice is done. The value of surrounding property is not diminished. And literal enforcement of the provisions of the ordinance would result in unnecessary hardship to the applicant. Tonight, we will call you up one by one on each case. When you come up to the microphone, you have up to 15 minutes to present your case. Please rest assured, know that we have read all of your applications, every piece of it, so you do not need to restate everything that's in there. That is your right to do so. However, please be aware that we definitely have looked at every one of your packets. When you come up to the microphone, please state your full name and address. And after your allotted 15 minutes, and you do not need to take the full 15 minutes, we are going to ask if there's anybody in favor. If anybody in favor of the application wants to speak, they have up to 5 minutes. Once again, state your full name and address, and you have up to 5 minutes to discuss the application. After that, we will ask if anybody is opposed to the application, and those folks, once again, have to state their name and address, and then have up to 5 minutes to declare why they are against an application. In the event that someone is against the application, the applicant will have 5 minutes to respond. And if in the unlikely event that happens, one and only one person in opposition may then respond 5 minutes after that. Based on the number of folks in this room, I don't think that's going to be an issue tonight, but that is the way the flow is going to happen. After we hear from the applicants and anybody in favor and opposed, we do close the public hearing and we go to a public meeting. At that point, all the members up here on the stage will discuss your case and make a decision. Tonight, you must have 3 votes in favor. So as just a reminder, a 2-2 vote will be a failure of the application. And at this point, I'd like to call an official roll call. So I'm going to start to my right. Mr. Boucher.
Present.
Mr. Lionel.
Present.
Mr. Patry.
Present.
Thank you. And I, Josh Neely, am also present. And Mr. Falk, do we have any changes to the agenda?
No, we do not.
Okay. So for tonight's flow, the first case is going to be 45 Nagle Street. That will be followed by the 55 Lake Street Unit 1 through 8 application. And at the end of the night, towards the end, we're going to have a rehearing request for 36 Granite Street. Do we have any questions from the audience? Excellent. Okay. Well, in that case, we are going to get going, and I'm going to read the first case into the hearing. And the first case is, and I do apologize if I mess up the names here, Jaira and Alfredo Gutierrez, owners, 45 Nagle Street, Sheet 102, Lot 60, requesting a variance from Land Use Code Section 190-17, subsection E, subsection 1, to exceed maximum driveway width, 24 feet permitted, 32 feet existing, requesting to add an additional 19 feet of driveway width on the right side of the existing driveway for a total width of 51 feet. This is in the RB zone in Ward 6. If the applicant is here, you can step up to the microphone and tell us what you'd like to do.
All right. Good evening. My name is Alfredo. My wife Haida. We're at 45 Nagel Street. Requesting a variance to extend the asphalt driveway. It's a 2-unit dwelling, and I think that we wanted to extend it so we have more space for more cars. First time home buyers, so we weren't familiar with the rules, and guy came up and said, hey, we can do this job for you, and we went with it before we're doing the variance, so we're here now trying to request it. I don't see it harming any neighbors or creating any unsafe conditions for the public. Before we had gravel there, and it was used as a parking lot anyway, so we decided to do the asphalt. We thought it'd be better than having gravel there. It was gravel all over the road, and wanted to make that upgrade. And I think the gravel was didn't look good. It was all over the road, and and we'll have photos and a sketch of the property that I wanted to get done, get the variance approved. And well, it's easier for us for like snow cleaning, like this snowstorm that went by. It's a lot easier than throwing up gravel with a snow blower. And if we will accept this variance, we're still going to use it as a 2-unit dwelling. It's not going to change. It's still going to be the same use. Thank you. That's all I got.
Okay, that's fine. Does anybody on the board have any questions? Mr. Boucher?
Can you tell me how long you've been there? You said you're new homeowners. How long?
I think it's been about
Approximately
7 years.
7 years. Okay. And how many? So there's two different units there, and how many vehicles are there total amongst? I don't know how many people are living there, but how many vehicles are there owned by the owners that you need to park?
Just by the owners.
Well, the people that
Just
live there,
us?
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got. There's 2 units. How many vehicles belong to that property that need to park there?
It's ¿cuántos vehículos hay? 2, 4, 4, ¿no? 5. De los dueños de ahí. Sí. De los que viven ahí. 5.
5.
5, ¿no?
Okay.
Yeah.
And then when you bought the property, was it already being used for parking on the side?
It was already that's what it was being
Right,
used for
and it
parking.
was already 2 units then, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I bought it as a 2-unit.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Lionel?
Yeah, maybe just some add for information, it got converted into a 2-unit, I think in 2015, according to the assessor's record, if I remember that correctly. And I know that gravel extension was there in 2019, because Google Street View, that's what it shows. So when did you have it extended with asphalt? When, this last summer or last year?
Yeah, I think it was around June or July.
Yeah. And when did you become aware that a variance was needed?
¿Cuándo fueron a la casa? From the date that we did the asphalt, maybe like 2 weeks later.
I'm just curious at how you learned of that.
I guess there was a complaint, and I got a knock on the door, and I was asked to do a variance.
I see. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Patry, do you have any questions?
I do not.
I think I just have one or two questions as well. That was one of my main questions, is how did we get here? So thank you for asking that. So is the garage usable for vehicles?
It's full, we're using it as storage, so it's no vehicles in the garage.
So here's what I'm getting at. 51 feet wide, I have not seen a driveway that wide that we've approved. And so I've got to figure out, and thank you for ever asking questions about how many cars there were. So there's 5 cars. We're not using the garage. Looks like you got work vehicles. I get it. We all have them. I'm also one of those families where we're shuffling vehicles in and out of the driveway. I get it. I mean, is the garage usable for vehicles? It is a smaller garage where it can't fit vehicles? Like, talk to me about the garage a little bit.
Yeah, I have one garage that I can fit a vehicle in, but the other one, it's set up where you can't really use it as fit a vehicle in there.
Because of the stairs inside or something?
Yeah, it's got like a little room where I got the boiler and the furnace.
Okay, that makes sense. If nobody else has any questions, you are all set to sit down. Thank you very much. And does anybody in the audience have any, or want to speak in support? All right, fair enough. And is anybody opposed? Okay. So that being said, I'm going to close the public hearing and open the public meeting. Does anybody have any thoughts on this case? Mr. Lino?
Yeah, I agree that 51 feet is really, really, really wide. But I drive down Nagle Street and I see at least one, if not more, houses that seem to have very similar driveways. But of course, there are also a whole bunch that are narrower within the 24 feet. And normally, I'm not in favor of really big driveways. You know, sometimes they look like almost it's a convenience store or something like that. And I'm also not in favor of asking for forgiveness instead of permission. But given that the driveway has been extended, at least with gravel, for at least 8 years, and there are other houses on the street that have similar driveways, I'm going to hold my nose and not object to this.
Okay. Any other comments, Mr. Boucher?
Similarly, like Mr. Lionel spoke to, 51 feet is a lot, but there's a couple of things I noticed. Driving by, I saw some trucks parked there, and again, they're not small cars, so going too deep is not going to happen with a truck in the driveway. But with all that said, as I was driving through the neighborhood, I went down the back street just to get a look at the back property, and there's those newer 2 families that were built on the backside with narrow lots. Those all have 2-car parking spots on the same lot for each unit. So would not be untypical to have this driveway though the one on Hunt Street in the back is kind of split up. And, but again, I think, again, we don't have anybody here saying that they hate it. And I guess I don't see enough reason for me to deny the application. So I'm going to support the application.
Any other comments, Mr. Patry?
Ditto.
Okay, fair enough. So I will be honest, when when I looked at the paperwork application, and I kind of cringed at 51 feet, because we have never seen one that we approved that was that large. There was another one in that neighborhood, same general neighborhood, we had denied a few years ago because it looked like a convenience store. So I didn't actually get a chance to do a drive-by till today, and so I haven't seen it with no snow on it, although I did watch somebody outside pushing a lot of snow in that driveway, so I'm sorry about that person. But when I look at the pictures of the house, I do think the house is set forward a little bit on the lot. And so I was comparing that to, I don't know if it's 43 or 41, but as you drove down the lower numbers on Nagel Street, there was another house that was able to fit 6 cars in the driveway, nose to tail. But you can't do that at 45, because this house is just a little bit too far forward. I do appreciate the applicant letting us know that one of those garage bays is unusable. Obviously, we don't know what's going inside there, so that kind of takes away a little more of their parking. And the fact that it is a 2-family, I mean, realistically, you're probably going to have 3 cars per unit. I mean, that's kind of my guess. And so we definitely see there's some work trucks here, good for them. So I am also not going to oppose this. I think the applicant's testimony, as well as a little bit of the drive around of the yard, of the neighborhood, changed my opinion, as well as the opinion of this board, who did a much better drive around in the neighborhood than I did. So, long way of saying that I'm going to support this. So does anybody want to make a motion? Mr. Boucher?
Did you raise his hand?
Nah, you got him.
You want to make the motion?
No, go ahead,
Oh,
JP.
okay. No, thank you. All right. Give this a shot, yeah. Like to make a motion to approve the variance for Ira and Alfredo Gutierrez, owners of 45 Nagel Street, sheet 102, lot 60, requesting a variance from Land Use Code Section 190-17, Section E, subsection 1, to exceed a maximum driveway width 24 feet permitted, 32 feet existing, requesting to add an additional 19 feet of driveway width to the right side of the existing driveway for a total width of 51 feet in the RB zone, Ward 6. We find that granting the variance would not be contrary to public interest, because again, we feel that even though this exceeds the driveway width, we feel that because of the situation with the 2-family, that it is warranted to have the extra driveway width, and that it would not be out of character with the neighborhood, as there is evidence of other homes in the neighborhood with wider than allowed driveways per the ordinance. We find that the spirit of the ordinance would be observed. Again, it would be in character with the neighborhood, and again, be not detrimental to any of the surrounding properties, as we, again, have no testimony to that. We find that substantial justice, granting the variance would do substantial justice, because again, it would allow the homeowner to keep the paved driveway that used to be gravel or crushed stone, and be able to use that in the manner that's been used for the last 10-plus years or so. As far as the values of surrounding properties, we don't have any testimony one way or another, but it is our opinion that, again, by improving the lot itself with the new pavement, that it would most likely help in raising the value of the property. As far as unnecessary hardship, we find that the proposed use is a reasonable one, again, because it allows the homeowner to use the property and park the cars off the street. With that, I'll make a motion to approve the area variance.
Thank you. Do we have a
The
second?
variance.
Do we have a second? Mr. Patry? Do we have any additional discussion on this application? If not, all those in favor? Okay, the motion does pass tonight 4-0. Congratulations. Just so you know, and I forgot to mention this earlier, there is a 30-day window of appeal. That being said, your project is already done, and so if any appeal did come up, it would go through Mr. Fox's office, and they'll let you know. But once again, congratulations tonight, and enjoy the weather and stay warm. You're welcome.
You're welcome to leave at this point if you wish.
Or you can stay and watch, it's up to you.
You're welcome.
Good night.
All right, I'll call the next case into order. Applicant Waverson Arajo, owner, 55 Lake Street, Unit 1 through 8, Sheet 99, Lot 30, requesting a use variance from Land Use Code Section 190-15, Table 15-1, numbers 97, 102, 108, and 149, to allow an event planning office including apparel renting, photograph studio, aesthetic spa, church place of assembly, and contractor shop. This is located in the RC zone in Ward 6. If you're the applicant, step on up, give us your full name and address, and tell us in your words what you'd like to do.
Good evening. My name is Waverson Arajo. I'm owner of 55 Lake Street, and I'm here to ask if a variance for the uses that I gonna use on my future company. So it's a request variance for event planning office, include apparel, renting, photography studio, aesthetic spa, church, and a place of assembly. I'm a contractor, so my office will be there as well. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board?
Yeah, just one more question.
Yeah.
Should open up. The building is already a commercial building. It's planning over 100 space for parking lot, and it's not close to the public. Like it's right in the corner, and you have a giant parking lot. Like it's far away from any neighbors around. And as well, it's already a shop book over there working as well. And it's a transportation company as well that has like a big truck loading and unloading, stuff. I don't own that part of the building. The building is a giant building, and I just bought 3 of the units in that place. So, and my units will be used by us. A hall. It's like a party hall or that was used for, I don't know if you guys remember, Sky Scan. It's a planetary type of school system. They have like a big global, and people usually go in so you can feel like how the planets are made, like how you feel out of the space. So people usually come in to check and go and pay for use or whatever. And they also usually teach like other colleges how the 3D planetary works. So that is where going to be the church. The church is supposed to be in a building below, but the fire marshal asked it to not be used in that area, so we could use the upstairs floor. So, and then it's a lot of, I know it's stating like a lot of business. We're not using those that yet, but they asked that it will be easy if I kind of bring everything in case in the future when I need to come in with my business. You guys already know how it's going to be.
Okay. Any questions from the board, or do you want me to start?
Go ahead.
All right. So I will say thank you. If these businesses are all going to come together in the future, we hate seeing the same application come by time after time. So thank you for bundling it all together. But I think I want to get a better feel for what exactly is going on there. We're very aware of this building. We've had multiple variances come through. It's a fascinating building with all kinds of nooks and crannies and all kinds of businesses in there. Ton of parking outside. That's not any of the concerns here. So in your application, you had stated, I think there's 7 or 8 businesses on here. So it sounds like you're going to start out with the contractor offices because you're a contractor.
No. Well, first, because it's 3 separate units, and I asked for the church.
Yeah.
But for some reason, the fire department asked to bring everything together. I said, no, I'm not going to bring my business here yet. I'm just want to do one of the units for the church. Well, I bought the whole building. I give the space for the church so the church could use downstairs. And then because I was not used, I'm just going to use the top floor. And then they say they couldn't do it. And then they asked me to have a engineering design a plant for them with like fire codes and fire summary and all that kind of stuff. So then they decide for me to use it for the church downstairs, I'm gonna have to install a sprinkler system. And I say, well, I just bought the building, I don't have $100K right now to install a sprinkler system. And they say, well, you have to allow the church to use upstairs if you want. And then to where when I move out to the upstairs, and then the church is gonna be upstairs now, but it's like a giant building. It's hard to explain how it's gonna work. But now at the moment, what I want is the church. And then, well, like 5 years ago, I have a variance for the spa that is sitting over there. Now it's on 67 Gilman Street, where I own the property as well. And then, not now, but we're gonna move that spa. It's like cross the street from Lake Street. Then I'm gonna move that spa over there. It's when they told me that I might need a variance because of the spa. You know what I mean? Because the building is already commercial, so like, it's already.
Yeah, no, we're very familiar with that building, so I get that. So when I first read your application, so that this is all new to me, when I read your application, it came across to me like you were gonna be doing like one business with all kinds of small sub-businesses inside, and so it sounds like that's not the case. What the case is, you got a church, you're trying to get a church in there, and then at some point, an apparel rental company's gonna come in, a photograph, like at some point, they're gonna move into your space as well, right?
Well, I already doing this work, but I usually do by home. Like I have a storage that
Yeah.
everything stays. I usually pay storage to stay in the storage.
Of course.
Because I do decoration, I do events and all this kind of stuff. And then I have storage, and then I bring my stuff to their storage so I don't have to pay for storage. And then they told me that I have to open that because I have all this linkage of business, you know what I mean? Like I have a storage that I do. Let's say you want to go to an event in New York, you want to dress up nice with something different. So I have all this clothes that you can use, or let's say you want to get married, then I have the clothes that you can use. But then they say it's better you set up as an office where like a planning shop, a planning place. You know what I mean? That's when I decide, well, if they want to do that, it's fine because I'm gonna use the building for my business anyway. So
So I get what you're saying, but who's the they? You keep saying they. Who's the they?
it's because the fire marshal and the city hall. Because I was not pretending to bring any of this right now.
Yeah, okay.
Because it was not making any sense for me to do right now. Because I couldn't afford to do all the, plan everything how I want.
Sure.
But then they told me that was easy if I do everything right now. And I agree with them. That's why I bring everything. And I just should explain that we have a bunch of parking space. It's a commercial area already. In case we use the hall, we're not going to bother anybody. We're not going to make a noise. We're not going to have people park in the street that kind of bothers other neighbors. So, and pretty much this is it. It's because I do planning events, and that's where it catches the attention. So you have to kind of open a lack with more information. And I told them what I do. I need a place that people can go and see. Let's say a showroom. I can have a office or a room that people can see the clothes that I have. You know what I mean? And then they can rent and stuff like that. It's kind of linked, but not. It's because I have so many business in my name. I have the spa, and I do renovation, and then I have this business for like 12 years that planning, party planning, and that's what I told them. I pretend in the future to bring everything together so I don't have to pay rentals around if I have a big building with no use.
I understand that. I'm a small business owner myself, so I get it. I get what you're trying to do. But I do have a couple more questions for you. We're almost there. Thank you. So I assume, and please tell me if I'm wrong, that the letter that the fire marshal sent out in opposition to this, did you see a copy of that?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. So I am going to read that into the record in just a few seconds when your testimony is done. But this sounds like a little bit of difference between what I'm seeing in the letter and what you're saying. So the fire marshal's office, and we'll get to that in a second here, is basically saying, they've come out and said they're against this application because of NFPA, Fire and Life Safety Code. And I get it's the sprinklers. I know how expensive they are. I understand. But it sounds like you've already figured out a way to move the church to a different unit. Is that unit also?
Yeah, the fire marshal and the city agree with that. Like, the only way that they let me have the church and my
Yeah.
business in there,
Yeah.
if I don't use the border park until I have the sprinkler system in there. I can use it for other business, like office or whatever.
Sure, yeah,
But
yeah.
I cannot use it for the church, because the church usually be downstairs. And upstairs is like a hall, like a party hall or dance or whatever. It's like a bigger than this, like 3 times this, like open. That's how Skyscan usually had the business over there. And it's a giant place. And then they told me that I couldn't have the church downstairs, because otherwise I have to install a sprinkler. And then I can't install a sprinkler at this moment. And then we have a meeting. They asked me to have a engineering plan for like fire code, all this. And then we already had the meeting. They approved that. They fine with the church upstairs. So that was okay with them. I just don't get why he sent this letter, because he says, okay, he say, oh, if you want to read, I can respond after.
Yeah, so what we'll do is, if it works for you, if you're done with your testimony, any other questions from anybody else on the Mr. Boucher?
So you're talking about the church on the upper level, is that floor got sprinkler system in it?
No, the sprinkler system should be downstairs. If I want to use the church
Yeah,
downstairs,
but
I
you're-
have to put it.
But you're saying you want to use the hall.
Yeah, then I'm gonna have to allow the church use the hall that was my thing.
Right, so does that have a sprinkler system?
No, but doesn't need it, because they have like all exit, and have like three exit. It's like a giant place, but have enough exits for people coming in and go as needed. That's why they kind of
Okay.
doesn't need to have a sprinkler there.
Okay, thank you. I'm all set.
He just answered my question.
Okay.
so.
Mr. Lionel, do you have a question?
No.
Okay. So just for my own, so I can clear my brain up here a little bit, when you talk about the hall upstairs where the church is now, that is also part of units 1 through 8, right? Because your application's for units 1 through 8. Is that considered to be part of units 1 through 8, or is that unit 9 or 10?
That is 138. That is
Okay.
kind of tricky, because I have the same question with them. It is even for me, because I couldn't get answer, because it's 3 buildings, and I bought a 1, 2nd, and 3rd. So I could, if I want to rent one of those buildings, so why I have to do a separate business for that? I can rent for somebody else, and they're gonna be their problem if they want to do a variance for the business. It's their problem. But then they ask, because I'm the owner, I'm gonna have to ask for variance for the whole building, even if it's 3 lots. Because if you see, each one respond a separate. I pay tax for separate units, so this amount of people could go in here, and it's doesn't have to be bothered with this one, because it's a different unit. But then they kind of calculate the whole building as one, because in the law it say if you have over 300 people in a building, then requires to have a sprinkler system. But I never can fit 300 people in there, because it's all offices, you know what I mean? But then they ask, well, but you own the building. I say, but it doesn't make any sense. If I want to use this, you have to count this as many people. You cannot count this, because I'm not asking to put the church in the whole building. The church is going to be in one unit, not in the whole unit. But I just was tired of this, and I just said, well, you guys want a variance, take the variance, and that we.
Okay. I want to recognize Mr. Falk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Please.
Well, religious uses are permitted in every zoning district.
Right.
It's the other uses that he needs the variances for, like the contractor shop, the photo studio, the aesthetic shop. They're the ones that need the use variance. We just added the church use into the ad just to be inclusive of all the uses that he has. So the church is permitted, and he'll have to work out the issues with the fire marshal and the building department for occupancy of that space, or wherever that church space is, but it's the other uses.
Okay.
Is really why he's here for the most part. Now, he says he doesn't want to use those right now. Like, if the board supports this, he would have 2 years in which to get those uses in, so.
So thank you for that. I think that maybe clarifies things a little bit. Is there any questions for Mr. Falk on that? Mr. Boucher?
Yes, so just to clarify, the letter from the fire marshal was strictly related to the church assembly, right? And no concern with the rest of the application.
I believe so. I don't know if any of those other uses are in there right now.
Yeah,
Correct me
it's
if
gonna
I'm
be
wrong.
using right now the offices and all that's gonna be used right now, The whole place kind of, because it's a hall with a lot of offices in the sides, so the whole thing gonna be used right now. But his concern, like, to answer your question, his concern was about the church.
That's the main concern from the fire department, because they have, you have to have a certain amount of ingress and egress doors and the exit signs and the panic doors per that square footage for people to get out safely in a matter of X amount of seconds or something. So that's what the fire marshal is more concerned about, is safety of that use for the church.
Okay. Was there any other questions from anybody to Mr. Falk on that one? Okay, I'm going to let you sit down at this point, and we're going to ask if anybody here is in support, and then I'm going to
Do you want to read? I like you to read the letter for the.
No, I certainly will. So the way I need to do this is I'm going to have you take a seat, and then I'm going to ask if anybody's in support. Nobody's here, so nobody will speak to it, and then I will put the letter into record, bring you back up again, and we can kind of talk to it again one last time before the board discusses again.
Sounds like a plan. Thank
Yeah,
you.
okay, thank you. And just to keep everything fair, is anybody here in support? There's nobody else in the audience here. Is there anybody here who wants to speak in opposition? And then once again, there's nobody else in the audience, but I do have a letter that I'm going to read into the record, received from, looks like Michael Duvernay, the fire marshal, based out of 70 East Hollis Street in Nashua. His email as of Friday, January. His email, I'm going to start kind of out of order here. Carter, thank you for your email. Attaches a letter outlining my concerns. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Thanks, Mike. Mr. Falk had emailed Michael Duvernay and copied in Chief Steve Buxton. Good morning, Mike. On January 27th, 2026, the Zoning Board of Adjustment will be considering a use variance for several uses at 55 Lake Street, all for one application with several different uses: an event planning office, apparel renting, photograph studio, aesthetic spa, and a church place of assembly. So with several uses going on in the space, like a condo, do you have any issues or comments before this goes to the zoning board? Thanks for any input. The letter received from Michael Duvernay, the fire marshal, goes as follows. Addressed to Carter Falk, Deputy Planning Manager, City of Nashua. Dear Mr. Falk, this letter is to document the position of the Nashua Fire Marshal's Office regarding the property located at 55 Lake Street and the variance request associated with Mr. Weverson Arajo. The Nashua Fire Marshal's Office has records dating back to March 7th, 2025, indicating that Mr. Arajo was performing work within the space. On that date, he was advised to cease all work activities and was directed to contact the building department to obtain the appropriate approvals and permits. On October 31st, 2025, the Fire Marshal's Office obtained information indicating that a church was being operated at this location without the required place of assembly permits as mandated by the NFPA Fire and Life Safety Code. At that time, Mr. Arajo was advised that the space was not permitted for occupancy and that use of the building was prohibited until all proper permits were issued and required inspections were conducted and approved. Subsequently, on November 2nd, 2025, I personally observed occupants inside the building. As a result of this noncompliance, a fine was issued and a formal code violation was documented and served. While a building permit has been applied for, it has not been approved due to the inability to meet required design criteria. Based on the ongoing deficiencies and the failure to meet applicable life safety requirements, the Fire Marshal's Office must formally state its opposition to the requested variance. At this time, the life safety needs of the building have not been adequately addressed, and approval would present an unacceptable risk to occupants. Should you require any additional documentation or wish to discuss this matter further, please feel free to contact our office. Respectfully, Nashua Fire Marshal's Office, City of Nashua, Michael Duvernay, Fire Marshal. And it is signed at the bottom. It is a one-page letter. Would you like to come back up to the podium and we can talk through that letter of opposition a little more now that we've all seen it and heard it? How would you like to respond to the letter officially?
Well, first of all, I'd like to understand Hold on one second, let me just very much. When he say in the last paragraph, while the building permit has since been applied for, because we already had applied like after on, let me see what the date here. This was applied on the 10/27/2025.
Okay.
So when he responded to this, this is was already applied for in the city hall on the 10 or 27. And then he didn't, when we had our meetings, he didn't state anything, if any safe issues for that. The only state that he has done is the sprinkler system that we couldn't use downstairs with our installed sprinkler system. Then we have another meeting. He asked me to have an engineer write down like a plans, like if that was safe for have people over, and that's what I did. So I hired architect, I hired a planning one, and then in the meeting, they already talked to him. Like if they already agreed to change the church to the upstairs, why he sent this, explain his concern about safety. He should be addressed with this with the engineering at the time in the meeting when we had. So I don't know why he's come with this after the meeting. If that was agreeable, that was all good. The only thing that I have to do is to be able to use the church is go upstairs, and it's not gonna be past the 300 capacity that he wants. Even that's been 3 units, so it should be, business should be separate. If I want to rent this unit for one type of business, that should be for that business. This unit should supposed to be for the other business. This unit should supposed to be for the other business. And he tried put everything together. It's all fine, but we already have agreed that the church could be used upstairs. I just don't understand why he sent this right now, complain against the zoning here today. That's my only question, and I have the same question too.
Okay. Anything else you want to say before I ask you a couple of questions?
No. If you guys have questions, then I can respond.
Yeah. We're gonna ask you a few questions here. So as of today, do you have a building permit that's been applied for?
Yeah.
So it's in process and just kind of floating around?
That was supposed to be approved already. So the church, I did church separate on the 10th of last year. But Mike, this guy that sent the letter, he didn't allow the city. It's not required to have a variance for the church. I'm letting this clear. I don't know why he want to hold me until this today. You know what I mean? It's not. I just don't get why and why he sent this concern. This concern is supposed to be when we have the architect, the guy over there. So he go, I don't think this is safe because they proved the fire. You probably guys already have the plan that I did. So it's all the safe things over here. The place is brand new. It's all safe. The condo taking care of the maintenance and everything for the fire system and everything. All the fire system is connected directly with the fire marshal. So anything happening there, the alarm is gonna sound in the fire department. I just don't get why he sent the letter afterwards, but that was all agreed. So he's agreed to that. Like the city agreed to let the church do it upstairs and everything. We just really come here to discuss about the spa. Because I remember I did the spa when I did on 67 Green Street, where my spa is now. I remember I did a variance in case people complain, and then that was approved, and then I'm changing it for that new location. Well, no, but I will be changing it.
Okay. Does any other board member have any questions? Okay, you're free to sit down. We're going to discuss it up here now. Thank you very much. I know there was a lot to discuss there.
Yep.
All right, so I am going to close the public hearing and open the public meeting. Would anybody like to start us off? Mr. Lino?
Yeah. I think we need to separate what's been applied for and what the objections of the fire marshal and perhaps the building department are. Again, the church doesn't need a variance, so that's not something we're going to be voting on. If we just, imagine that the building was up to fire code, and for whatever these other uses are required, and I don't know, it seems a bit odd to me that there would not be a comment about the photography studio, et cetera, whether sprinklers or whatever are needed for that. But I get that it's a number of people in there necessarily. If it's just we have this commercial building and and the applicant's looking for use variances for these other businesses, what would be the reason to say no? And I can't think of one. So just based on what we're here for, which is the use variance, I would be in favor of the use variance. Now, obviously, the applicant's got other hurdles to jump over before he can make full use of the building. But I don't see a good reason to deny the use variance based on objections to use of the building as a church, which is not what we're here to discuss. So.
Thank you. Any other thoughts? Maybe I'll jump in for a couple seconds. So this has been, excuse me, an enlightening conversation, because I think when we first got the packet, we ended up in the weeds here a little bit. First of all, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the people, if there's a problem, can get out of the building. I mean, the fire marshal is doing his job. The folks there are doing their job. And we always say we want to support them in whatever way possible. I mean, I've been doing this for a few years. I've never gotten a letter from a fire marshal's office for any of our cases, so I definitely found that very interesting and very, very different for what we were doing. I appreciate Mr. Falk, once again reminding us we're not here to talk about the church, which is what most of this letter is talking about, but we're talking about the other business uses that could be going on in there. I think we're all aware of this building. This is a big rambling building, very similar to many other buildings in this city. I have a warehouse in one of them. They're just, there's so many uses going on in there. And as I think what Mr. Lionel was getting to is if we had 7 different people come in front of us tonight and say, I want to do a photography studio, I'd probably say yes. I want to do an aesthetics thing, I'd probably say yes, because that building has a ton of commercial activity going on inside of it. So that being said, I think I am going to be in favor of this application, and I think a lot of it came to the discussion we had to be able to kind of pull out of the weeds a little bit and suss through some stuff here. A question to staff. Obviously, I am very concerned about the letter from the fire marshal's office, but my assumption is every time that the zoning board approves something, it's with the assumption that the person is either has to go to the planning board next, or they got to pull all proper permits. So it doesn't make any sense in my mind to say we have to have a contingency based on pulling permits and blah, 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 because I think that's just assumed, right?
It's a given.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want Mr. Weaverson to think that we're singling him out by contacting the fire department. We contact the fire department all the time. Every use that comes in has to get a building permit, no matter what you're doing anywhere. So they're always involved with all of staff decisions, so they're aware of this anyway. It's anything you get an occupancy permit for has to be safe. The CO means it's a safe building to occupy, certificate of occupancy. So they just happened to write this letter because they had some concerns about the place of assembly with the church. Now, the church is a permitted use. Churches can go anywhere in any zoning district throughout the city, as long as you get your proper building permits and CO and things like that. So that's what their concern is with the church. The other uses that he has on his application, like you said, the photography studio, the contractor shop, the fire marshal will still look at those as well, but they're probably not going to have the same concerns as the church. The church is going to be a lot of people in a room, and if there's an emergency, all those people have to get out immediately, where it may not have that type of a issue with a photography studio, which may only have 1 or 2 people, and they can easily get out through one door. So the real crux of this application is really the other uses, the photography studio, the aesthetic shop, the contractor shop. That's really why he's here. It's just the church was listed in the application, and we happen to have this correspondence from the fire marshal that we added into the package as they asked us to. So, but it's all combined, like, you know, like he says, he has 3 different, or he has 3 different tenant spaces in there, and all these spaces are kind of combined. So that's why we listed them all in the application. We didn't want to leave something out. You know, whatever he listed on his application for uses, we put in there, even though we knew the church was a permitted use.
Okay, thank you. So based on that, just to kind of wrap it around, I am in favor of this application, because I do think that these business uses are consistent with the other things going on in this building. I think there's a ton of different businesses in there. There's nothing, you know, he's not coming here asking for chemical storage and that type of stuff. That's just not here. So I do feel this is consistent with what's going on in the building. So I will be in favor of this application. Mr. Badry?
Yeah, I can't see a reason to deny this based on the uses. I mean, these are all fitting in a commercial building. I think they're all fine commercial businesses. I don't see a reason for denying that.
Thank you.
I'm also going to support the application, and again, just get back to this, I think, again, I think the fire marshal has, you know, rightfully concerned from what he knew. But again, a business could come in and be using chemicals. That would change, but that doesn't stop us from approving a business. It's, again, up to the owner and to, you know, work that out with permitting. And then the fire marshal at that point would say, yes or no, this is what you got to do. So, again, I don't think that the business types are an issue. Again, that down the road, right, it's about what they do in those businesses, where I think that's where they get involved, the fire marshal's office. So I'll be supporting the application also.
Okay, great. Any additional before we make a motion? Does anybody want to make a motion?
Sure.
Mr. Patry, thank you for volunteering.
Sure. I move that we approve the request from Weberson Arroyo, owner of 55 Lake Street, Unit 1 through 8, requesting use variances from Land Use Code Sections 190-15, Table 15-1, numbers 97, 102, 108, and 149, to allow an event planning space, including apparel renting, photograph studio, aesthetic spa, and contractor shop in the RC Zone, Ward 6. We find that granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest because these are all uses that would be consistent with a commercial building in this commercial zone. The spirit of the ordinance would be observed because, again, these would be commercial uses consistent with the commercial zone. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because it would allow for a number of different businesses to be used in this space. We find that the values of the surrounding properties would be increased because of the additional commercial use of the building. It would increase the value of the building. We find that owing to the special conditions of the property that distinguish from other properties in the area, denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship because there is no fair and substantial relationship between the general public purpose of the ordinance provision and the specific application of that provision of the property, because this is a large commercial building in a large commercial zone that would be able to accommodate a number of different uses. And we find that the proposed use is reasonable because it fits with a commercial use in the commercial zone. We note that the church, which is requested in the application, is not before us, that request is not, for a variance, not before us, because that is allowed in all zones.
Excellent. Do I have a second? Mr. Lionel, thank you. Any additional discussion before we vote? Okay, all those in favor? All right, that is a 4-0 vote. Congratulations, your application was approved. As I mentioned earlier to the other folks, there was a 30-day window of appeal. But that being said, I would continue on the path you've been working with the engineers and the folks from the city, so you can get your business up and running in that building, and I wish you a great night. You're welcome.
You guys stop by to check how it is.
Yeah.
I need my clothes. Maybe I like them.
All right, thank you. Have a great night.
Good night.
All right, next up on the agenda is, we're going to look for proposals of regional impact for the upcoming agenda. Has everybody had a chance to take a quick look at that upcoming agenda, which, as a reminder, does include the landfill that we have seen a few times? Any regional impact anybody can see? All right.
Yep.
I've got a bunch of folks saying no, so we'll move on from that. Minutes. So we did receive the minutes electronically, and we now have hard copies sitting here. Does anybody have any issues or items that they would like to note from the minutes?
Nope.
Okay, excellent. Can I get a
Motion to accept the minutes.
thank you, appreciate that, and seconded, thank you very much. English became my second language there all of a sudden, I don't know why.
Seconded by Mr. Boucher.
Mr. Boucher,
Yes,
thank you. All right, and we do have a rehearing request for 36 Granite Street. So, as we...
Groundhog Day. That's
So that being said, 36 Granite Street, we have two very specific rehearing items that were brought up by Attorney Swiniarski from Divine Millimet. So I think what I would like to do, because it's a relatively short letter, is I would like to read that into the record, and then we can discuss the two specific items that he is requesting a rehearing based on. So we have a letter from Divine does everybody agree with that flow there?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So we have a letter from Divine Millimet, dated December 11, 2024. I assume that's a typo. It was sent via email to Nicole Wilkins and Carter Falk at Nashua, and addressed to us, Nashua Zoning Board of Adjustment, the board, 229 Main Street, regarding motion for rehearing, twice reversed and remanded variance application, the application of Sam N. Katz, the applicant, to allow more than one principal structure on a residential lot for property located at 36 Granite Street, Nashua, New Hampshire, which is known as the property. Hello, board members. By this correspondent, applicant hereby requests and moves for a rehearing by the Zoning Board of Adjustment, otherwise known as the board, of its decision rendered on or about December 6, 2025. The appellant hereby requests and moves for a rehearing on the decision and alleges that the board made factual and legal errors in issuing the decision as more particularly set forth below. Count number 1. The board has for the fourth time failed to issue a written decision in compliance with RSA 676, number 3, subsection 1. And count 2. The board has for the fourth time failed to issue a written decision in compliance with RSA 676, subsection 3, subsection 2. The applicant reserves its rights to amend this motion for rehearing within 30 days of the board complying with the above referenced statutes pursuant to RSA 677-4, whenever the board chooses to do so and notifies the applicant of the same. Summary. For the reasons discussed above, the appellant respectfully requests that the board, number 1, grant the variance request by the application based upon the findings of fact evidenced by the appropriate and lawful official record as the board was ordered by both the New Hampshire Housing Appeals Board Case 2024-022 ZBA and the Superior Court Case 226-2025-C as in Charlie, V as in Victor, -00145. And number 2, compensate the applicant for its damages suffered as a result of the intentional and wanton disregard of New Hampshire law, the evidence of which continues to mount after 4 unlawful decisions and violations of court orders, which damages have currently accrued in excess of $90,000 plus interest and continue to accrue. Thank you, sincerely, Christopher Swiniarski, attorney for applicant. We will have a quick little discussion about this, not quick, but we'll have a discussion. To start out with, do not want to discuss the two requests in the summary. I'd just like to talk about his original count 1 and count 2. And for those who are not aware, in a packet provided to us by staff, count 1 and count 2 discuss, basically what it comes down to is that any of the minutes need to be up within a certain amount of time, and the applicant has to be notified within a certain amount of time. As the board probably knows, the normal flow to what happens with our board meetings is not only are we put on YouTube within a couple days so that anybody can watch the hearing, but within 5 business days, the staff does put a written set of minutes on the Nashua, NashuaNewHampshire.gov website to be accessed by everybody. In this case, staff also provided a letter in a packet that was sent as a courtesy to Attorney Swiniarski, in addition to what was posted online for him or his designees to take a look at. Does anybody have any questions on that or any discussion on that point specifically, which really is the crux of what is being requested here tonight? Yeah, Mr. Boucher.
So I'm assuming that staff has verified that all these things happened on time?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, the minutes, I'm the one who does the minutes, and I
Right.
had them done. That was given to Nicole Wilkins of our staff Monday morning, the 15th, which was within the 5 business days. The meeting is Tuesday. The next day is day 1, so that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I actually got them done on Monday, so that's 4 business days. They're posted on our web, and we have hard copies ready for everybody. They also are marked draft because they're not approved until the board approves them. So they were available. We also did the decision letter, in which we went into great detail about the 5 points of law, which is also included in your package, why the board did not believe they did not meet the hardship, the spirit and intent, property values, the substantial justice. So that was all done. That decision letter was done within 30 days, but there is not a statutory time frame for that like the minutes are. So they were all done and given to the attorney and also to the landowner before that 30th day. So they got a copy of what they have in count 1 and count 2 delivered to them. So they have all this information. And nowhere in this rehearing request does it mention anything about findings of fact and other reasons for denial. The counts were basically in the minutes and the decision letter, which are both made available to the applicant in a timely manner. So.
Does that answer all your questions?
Yes. I might have one more thing after we're done
Yeah,
discussing.
okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns? So we don't often see rehearing requests, and this is the first time on my time on the board that we've seen a rehearing request specifically and only about the timing of notification of decisions going back to the applicant. I do believe this is pretty straightforward, that we have the dates and the documentation, that everything was provided in a timely manner. And so in just a few minutes, we will do a vote here. But before we get to that, I just want to put on the record here that under the summary, and once again, I will talk about the summary here. The applicant is asking us to grant the variance requested by the application based upon the findings of fact. So he's basically saying, I want you guys once again to go back to the September of whenever, and I want you guys to turn this whole thing around. In addition, is asking for compensation of $90,000 plus interest and continue to accrue. Based on my understanding, we have followed the proper procedure on what must happen in the hearings, and as you remember, it went to the Housing Board then kicked it back to us. We went through it again,
More detail.
more detail, a full hearing, was kicked back at us again, saying we shouldn't have had that extra hearing, and we went through it again. So we have done this multiple times. I know I will speak for myself, I feel very comfortable that what we have come up with on the last rehearing, as well as the original case, we found that the 5 rules of law were not met, and that's why we voted against this application. And under no circumstances can the zoning board approve any type of payment. Any type of payments from the city must be approved by the Board of Aldermen, obviously go through the city solicitor. And so the summary request number 2 is something that's outside of the purview of the zoning board and just not something that we can, that we would have the ability to say yea or nay on. It is just, as far as we're concerned, null and void coming to us because we can't do anything with any type of monetary damages. Anybody have any questions or comments on those 2 things? Yeah, Mr. Boucher?
Well, not exactly,
Yeah.
but somewhat. Again, I just want to make sure we're doing our due diligence now. This has come back 4 times. And like you said, it's, in your view, it's pretty straightforward. Only because of some things that happened in the past, I want to make sure, that we use all the resources that we have at hand, and one of that is being able to use legal staff. I don't know if this is a time to do that. I'm not saying that we have to, we should. I just want to bring it up that, I just want to make sure that we're not, not that we're sure what we're doing, but that we do have, that we're going down the right path. And again, Mr. Fox, maybe you've had some contact or some more knowledge than we have with that. Not to disclose anything specifically, but, again, I just want to make sure that, we're not putting the city in any position, or that there are some open questions that we should be considering or something. Not that I would change my mind, but I just want to make sure that we're on good standing, that's all.
Yeah, I think that's a valid question, and, Mr. Falk, if you want to hopefully answer that question.
Sure, well, I personally have not talked to Corporation Counsel about this. Sam Durfee did, and gave him a copy of this rehearing request. And last I knew, Mr. Durfee did not agree with what Mr. Bolton wrote, and I think they talked about it.
Mr. Bolton?
Yeah, Steve Bolton,
Okay.
our attorney.
Okay, yeah.
Did not really agree with what he had said about it, and I don't think they have communicated after that. All I know is that he had questions on, what was it? I was involved with the email chain or the message that they had. It was something like the board didn't do their job, meaning name and address, the request, the zoning district, a lot of things that are obvious in the advertisement that we sent out, and the deliberations and talks that we had here at the zoning board, those were all done. That's why Mr. Durfee did not agree with his answer. So we believe, our staff believes that we have done everything with this correctly, legally, and we don't feel like, if we felt there was an error or something that was missed or something, we'd be the first one to say, hey, let's bring this back. But we do not feel that way.
Not sure how much that makes you feel better, but.
No, it's not about making you feel
No,
that way.
I understand.
It's from some previous issues that we had, I just want to make sure that it was made clear to me that that's an asset, that that's a resource that we have to our hands, and just to use it when to use it. So I just want to make sure that.
And we do. I mean,
Yeah.
we routinely contact the legal department, and there's other resources that we check as well within the state to ask questions if we have a legal question on something. And a lot of times I don't, Mr. Durfee will, but.
So in this case, with this case here, what you're saying is that basically there's some thorough knowledge through staff and through legal about this. That there is some knowledge there that people have knowledge of.
Yep.
Okay,
Absolutely.
that's what I need to know. So
Absolutely.
this is not something that's blind to them, and they would be surprised to hear.
All rehearing requests, anything that's gonna go to the courts, our legal department gets a copy of that, all correspondence and everything, so they're definitely well aware of this.
Okay, good. All right, that's.
So I know.
Thank you.
This is a rehearing request. We have a particular protocol we follow for rehearing requests. One of the questions is, was there any additional information provided that would cause us to change our mind? And certainly for me, the answer is no. I think that a lot of this that the attorney Swinarski sent is just irrelevant to what we're here to do. And I would just prefer to just go ahead with the rehearing request and we vote according to the questions that were asked.
Yeah, so, so I also agree with that. Thank you for saying that. And once again, I think, and I understand the reason for your question, and I think it's,
I agree with what's going on.
Yeah, no,
I
I
just want
understand.
to make sure it was out there.
and I think I would like to enunciate, just so it's on record. So, Mr. Falk, we would request that city, that the solicitor's office know that they made a request of us of $90,000 plus interest, and that we're saying we're not the right people to do it, but we want to make sure it doesn't go into a black hole somewhere, and they come back and say, why didn't somebody tell us about this? So we would like to request that city staff make sure that number
Yeah,
is
we
in
will.
front
I
of
mean,
somebody.
they got a copy of this request anyway, so they're
Okay.
aware of it. But I think they know that the zoning board can't issue that money.
We can't really do the number one, just simply grant the variance.
Correct.
Not here, we can't do that.
Correct.
And the only way we could possibly grant the variance is if we granted the rehearing request and had a rehearing. So let's do the rehearing request.
And just refresh my memory for a rehearing request, do we have some questions we have to answer, or we just make a motion?
Five.
Do I have it?
There are some,
It's the white piece of it.
White one. Maybe I didn't go deep enough. There it is. All right. The other way one. Do we have any other discussions we want to have before we get into the worksheet here? Yes, Mr. Patrick?
One thing to note, the request says that our decision was rendered on or about December 6th, but we met December 9th. So that time is important, I think, because of when Mr. Falk, the minutes were posted. Because, perhaps it might not have been timely if we had met the 6th, but we didn't meet the 6th, we met the 9th.
Yeah, that was an excellent point. And,
yeah, the meeting was on the 9th.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for bringing that up. So
And
there is a few misprints in this letter. I get it, but I do think that's a material item that needs to be noted. That's critical.
And I assume this letter, it's like you said, Mr. Neal, like December 11th, 2024, which is, was a typo, but I assume this was actually written in January 2025 or 2026.
Well,
26.
that December 11th, 2024
Yeah.
date, I'm guessing that was a cut and paste error from another previous
Right.
letter or something, because our staff received this on January 8th.
Right. And we didn't have our meeting, we met to go over we issued our letter on January 6th, I think, whenever we had our meeting, where we approved the minutes. So I don't know how, the December 11th, 2025 also wouldn't make sense.
That date just doesn't make sense. That was,
Yeah.
unless he wrote this, well, the meeting was December 9th.
Right.
So maybe he meant December, I don't want to guess what he
Sure.
meant, but usually rehearing requests, people have 30 days in which to give them in. We got this on January
Right.
8th, which is
Right.
the
What time was it?
29th
Right.
day.
Yeah.
It was just before the 30-day deadline,
Yeah.
so that's when we got this. I don't know what he wrote for dates. I don't want to speculate on what he meant.
That's a good call.
All I know is we got it on January 8th, and that was the 29th day before the 30-day deadline.
But once again, I think what you're trying to get to, Mr. Patry, is that is a material date, but I'm not sure that it's going to change the material information that we're going to be discussing here. We believe everything was put out there in a timely manner as put forth in the RSA. So unless there's any additional discussion, we can head right into the rehearing worksheet. What I'd like to do is just go through the 4 questions. I'll do them one at a time and just go right around the room for a yay or a nay from everybody, if that works, unless there's opposition to that. And Mr. Patry, you're going to be on the hot seat today, being
Okay.
the first one for each one of these. So first question, was there a procedural error? This includes improper notice, denying someone the right to be heard, et cetera. Mr. Patry?
No.
Mr. Lionel?
No.
Mr. Boucher?
No.
And I also vote no. Second question, was it an illegal decision? Did the board fail to completely address all points of law required for a special exception and/or variance? Mr. Patry?
No.
Mr. Lionel?
No.
Mr. Boucher?
No.
And I, Josh Neely, also vote no. Does the request contain any information not presented or available to the board at the original public hearing? Mr. Patry?
No.
Mr. Lionel?
No.
Mr. Boucher?
No.
And I, Josh Neely, vote no. And fourth and final question, is there anything new that could or would cause the board to make a different decision? Mr. Patry?
No.
Mr. Lionel?
No.
Mr. Boucher?
No.
And I, Josh Neely, also vote no. So based on the 4 questions, it was unanimous no for each question. The board does deny the rehearing request.
We need to have.
Do we need to have an actual vote?
An actual overall motion.
Overall motion? Okay, would anybody like to make the motion? Mr. Lina?
I'd like to make a motion to deny the rehearing request from, let me get this right, St. Cat's, 36 Granite Street, for our multiple decisions, most recently on December 9th, 2025. And the rehearing request, the board finds that there was no procedural error, that it was not an illegal decision, that the rehearing request did not contain any information not presented or available to the board at the original public hearing. Of course, the material that was presented here was irrelevant to the original hearing because it did not actually touch on any of the issues brought up at the hearing. And the board finds there is nothing new that would cause the board to make a different decision. So I make a motion to deny the rehearing request.
And do we have a second? Mr. Patry? I would like to add, just so we have it out there, I know we had a bunch of discussion, that the online posting was the 15th of December, and a letter was sent to the applicant on the 8th of January 2026, which was in the 30 days. Mr. Patry, thank you for.
And I would further add that the letter of January 8th, 2026 constituted a written decision of the board, and that, as Mr. Neely noted, the minutes were posted, were timely posted, as required by law.
Yeah, I agree.
Great, okay, first and second, excellent. Any additional conversation? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to deny? It is 4-0, so the motion is, for rehearing, is denied. Thank you, everybody, on that one. I know there was a lot of reading that had to go with that one. And do we have any other items that we need to discuss here tonight? Do we have a motion to adjourn at, looks like, 7:47 PM?
So moved.
So moved? Second?
Motion by Joseph.
And we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.